I want to stand still at the same verse that we discussed yesterday. And I want to read it to you. It's from Lamentations 4 verse 1. How the gold has lost its luster. Even the finest gold has become dull. The sacred gemstones lie scattered in the streets. It's such a pity that people sometimes get something very valuable, but they don't care for it. It's like you buying that brand new car, but it's full of mud, it's full of dirt, and nobody can see its real value. The real value is covered. When I was like a goldsmith, I can still remember I gave my clients the privilege to bring their jewelry at any time, and I cleaned it for them for free because my name was behind it. And many of my clients came on a regular basis, and I put their rings on the buff and just cleaned it for them, and after the buff, the steamer, and then when they walked out of there, what they received in the beginning, that nice shining ring, was in the same shiny condition. That's how our marriages are. You see, the day that Adam saw Eve, immediately he said, "This is now bone of my bones. This is flesh of my flesh." He just knew, she belongs to me. She fits. We will make a lovely couple. He knew it. And that's why he expressed the thoughts of his heart. And it was in that situation in the Garden of Eden, in a situation of innocence, there was no sin yet. But after the enemy came in, he told Adam about all the deficiencies of Eve. She wasn't performing good enough in certain areas. So Adam took out his measuring tape. And at the end of the day, he even blamed God. He said, "God, if you've not given me this woman, I wouldn't have been in the position where I am in right now." What changed? Nothing. Except when Adam first saw Eve, he saw her like God. How does God see people? Through eyes of love, through eyes of grace. He's not focusing on your sins, but the enemy is, because the enemy is the accuser. You know, that person is not performing well enough in that area. He's got certain bad habits in that area. And you take out the measuring tape of your own laws, and you measure that person, and then you decide, it's true. I have to change this person. Can you still remember after you met your wife, after you met your husband, that marriage ceremony? You told everybody there, you stood there in front of witnesses, and you told them, "This is a precious gem that God has given me. She is so precious. There's nothing wrong in her." And everybody was there, because when you spoke through eyes of love, when you spoke out of your heart, you spoke the truth about her. But now, due to all the processes where you try to form her, tell her you are not performing good enough in that area, your laugh is not the way, you don't laugh the way you're supposed to laugh, you don't speak the way that you're supposed to speak, and you start, you didn't behave good enough here, you didn't clean good enough here, you start to break her down, and eventually she will become so worthless in your eyes, like that gems in Lamentations that the people took to street level and they start to sell it because they forgot the original, the real value of that gems. And they sold it for its ordinary market value. You could find it in the streets. So at the end of the day, you willing to leave her, or you willing to leave him. But guess what? It's because you are not seeing through the eyes of God anymore. There's no grace left in your heart. You've tried to change this person through all the laws and regulations. And Jesus came to die for us, for that law under which we stood, so that we can again be under grace and experience His love, His acceptance. God, when He's speaking to us, He's speaking with love, with life. He's calling the good in us forward. That's a way that you should speak to your husband or to your wife. What I usually do when I've been at a marriage and they want to leave each other after a few years, I phone them and say, no, this is not what you promised God. You promised God to stay in love. It's an unlimited love. We are part of God. We are part of a love. We experience a love without limits. Why not have grace in your marriage? It's because you tried to form that person. That person was only in your hands. Because that person is not the person that God made the person to be. Because you didn't want to accept him like that. That's why that person is not acceptable in your eyes anymore. I pray for a spirit of love, the Spirit of God in your marriage, and that you will appreciate each other, that you will cherish each other for who God made you to be. I bless you in His precious name.